We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
Welcome to Mostly Horror.
Mostly.
I'm Steve,
And I am Sean.
and we have an episode this week that is guestless. We've had we're booking some fun
Couple
guests
of
up in
those.
the future, but we have
Yeah.
some important news that we wanted to talk about today.
Yes.
I'm thinking of calling this episode "The Aliens Are Striking." I think that's
I like
a good
it.
way to get people's
Honestly.
attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we want to talk about the SAG-AFTRA strike. We want to talk about aliens, which is just a weekly thing now. And that's going to kind of be the show today. So hopefully you guys are ready for a nice condensed version of Mostly Horror for you this week. But let's jump into what is a very important topic right now. So as people know, for I'm not even sure how long WGA has been picketing for, at least a month and a half, if not 2 months now. Probably more than that. I don't even know. They've been picketing for a while. As of Thursday, as of July, I believe 14th, the SAG-AFTRA union, Screen Actors Guild union, is going on strike. They were not able to come to negotiate, come to an agreement to form a new contract with the AMPTP, which, if you didn't listen to our previous striking episode, is essentially the representation conglomeration of all the streamers and WB and the different big production companies. So they weren't able to come to an agreement because the things that they're fighting for, like good wages and residuals and AI things, were not met in the contract that was proposed. So now they're on strike. SAG-AFTRA is made up of nearly 160,000 members. They are now, again, like I said, joining the WGA members, which were already on the picket line. We're already a big group of people. So obviously, like, I know that I mentioned 160,000 people, but I think like we should go into why they're going on strike, what this means, because it's really shocking. Not shocking in a I think it's bad that they're doing this way, but really shocking to see all the things that these actors are really agreeing by striking that they're not going to do anymore, and also not get paid.
Right.
So I think this is something, it's really worthwhile to go through. And obviously Sean and I are big supporters of this.
Absolutely.
We've talked about AI use to some extent, but especially when it comes to, the things that they're talking about, the AMPTP, the things that they want to be able to do with AI is ridiculous. Even with the WGA. So we are all for this, and all of, even if we lose out on actors and actresses not being able to promote their shows on our podcast, which we'll talk about, it's completely fine, because we're happier that they're striking than if they were just promoting and not getting the rights that they need. So like I said, as of Thursday, SAG, which is the Screen Actors Guild, is on strike because they couldn't reach an agreement, or I should say AMPTP couldn't reach an agreement with SAG. And there's a lot of strikes, or a lot of reasons why the strike is necessary. I'm pulling a lot of this from Entertainment Weekly's kind of update. They have a running update of what's going on with the strike as it's happening. It's like I don't know if you've ever seen like ELI5, like Explain Like I'm 5. It's like, that's like a big thing on Reddit. There's a sub thread. It's called ELI5, and someone will just say ELI5, how do planes work? And then someone on Reddit who like makes planes will be like, well, the wind goes under the thing and then it flies. And you're like, oh shit, I never would have thought of that. So this Entertainment Weekly article is basically like an ELI5 of the strike. So there's a lot of reasons for the strike. Within the past couple of decades, obviously there's been a huge shift from syndicated TV and cable shows to streaming, and same with like theater films going straight to or right into theaters, and now they're obviously pivoting somewhat towards streaming. There's also issues that are coming up, including the use of AI in generating and perpetuating actors' likenesses, which is huge. Essentially, AMPTP wanting to be able to do like a NBA 2K face scan of you and then use your likeness in movies. I mean, like, you know, you've obviously seen things like in Star Wars, you know, they've brought back dead people to be in their films, and I'm sure that there's some sort of agreement that allows them to do that. But this is basically
to their estate or something. I'm sure there's payment.
Yes. And so this is basically the, you know, I know one of the things was them basically saying like, we'll get a background worker or an extra, a background actor or an extra, pay them X amount of money for us to be able to scan them and then use their likeness in perpetuity forever. So basically they got paid to like get their scan, but they weren't able to make money thereafter because AI is just doing it for them. And which, like, I just want to say, if you're listening to this and you think that a computer generated person, at least currently with the technology that we have, a computer generated image actor can perform in the way that a human actor can, and us not be able to notice, I just don't think that that's doable. Like,
100%.
I don't think we're in that space.
No. I've seen even on just some like editing softwares that are now implementing AI that even most people have access to. There is some huge developments in being able to like create basic like background crowds. And that alone is nuts. But dude, even if the technology was there to do it really, really well, that goes so clearly just against so many different people's interest that we can't allow that. It's not just about can it be good. It's fundamentally with the society that we have set up. We can't allow that.
Movies and films and motion pictures, whatever you want to call them, evolved from stage plays. You know, in like Shakespeare, and even before that, like made these beautiful, you know, dramas and tragedies and stage plays that one day someone said, let's film this so everyone can see it. And it is the human element that makes these things so great, you know, like that is the craft, and you can't replicate that. You can do animation, but even animation has voice actors that are very amazing at their craft, and that is like the human element behind the animation. So that's a big thing, obviously, the AI component. There's also issues with the residuals, you know, these actors not making anything on their film or their TV show when it goes to streaming year after year or month after month. I mean, I know I just saw like Miss Marvel, for instance, was a straight to Netflix TV show for Disney, or straight to Disney Plus TV show. And it's going to be showing on ABC because they haven't been able to film new shows to put on ABC. So they're bringing a show from from Disney Plus to ABC to fill the times. And I'm wondering if the people that worked on Miss Marvel are going to get paid for that, because maybe it's not in their contract. Yeah, exactly. Like these are the sort of things. Other points of conflict are salaries, particularly for guest stars on shows, co-stars, and background actors, as well as rising inflation and the cost of living increasingly preventing many working actors from earning a living wage. We all know that acting's hard. That's what there's a union for it. You know what I mean? That's what these unions are made for. So at the end of the day, there was a business model built on cable TV and theaters, and that business model no longer matches the current state of film and TV. Right? Like it just they don't equate, much in the same way that the minimum wage in the United States doesn't match cost of living in the United States. You know, it's not the same. It doesn't match. So the thing that we were talking about, the thing that I mentioned that's really surprising, is all the things that actors can't do. So not only are you striking and you're saying I'm not going to act in your movies anymore, Warner Brothers or whomever it may be. And this is, again, pulling from Entertainment Weekly. They are not allowed to act, sing, dance, perform stunts, pilot on-camera aircraft, work as a puppeteer, or participate in performance capture or motion capture work. This also includes work as a background actor, stand-in, or photo body double. All off-camera work in support of a performance is also prohibited, including ADR or looping. So this is when you're doing like you're adding voice lines to a film when your character's off camera, random things that are maybe funny in a comedy film, or ADR, as in other words that you may need to fill in if you flubbed them when you were recording it live. They can't do TV and theatrical trailers and promos, voice acting, singing, narration, and stunt coordination. Pre-production work is also part of the struck work, meaning they can't do any pre-production, including fittings, wardrobe tests, makeup tests, rehearsals, camera tests, scanning, interviews, and auditions. So that's like the production side of it, pre-pro and production. On the press and promotion side of things, most things are off limits as well. If anyone is kind of following along with this, I think it was Thursday when the Oppenheimer premiere was happening in the UK or wherever it was happening. And as soon as midnight happened in the US, all of the Emily Blunt, Cillian Murphy, Florence Pugh, RDJ, like they all left. And Christopher Nolan at the end of the movie was like, he like recognized that. He was saying, that the actors of this film left because they, in the United States, the strike happened at midnight. Or it went into effect at midnight. So they can't do those things. So actors can't participate in promo work, in promotion for work made under those contracts, including press tours, personal appearances, interviews, conventions, fan expos, film and TV festivals, for your consideration events, so things that are going up for Emmys or Oscars, panels, premieres or screenings, award shows, junkets, podcast appearances, social media, and studio showcases. They also can't enter into an agreement for work in the future or any merchandising agreements connected to projects under the contract. So basically, the actors are saying, we are not doing shit until we get what we want, which again, all for that. It is just like, I think it's really important for people to understand that the actors aren't just like, a lot of these people are, some of these people are millionaires out of the 160,000, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are agreeing to give up work and really not do anything else, not even promotion, while this is going on. So on the flip side of things, do you have anything to add? I've been kind of just talking.
Well, no. It's basically just, I guess to further explain that context would be, this isn't just your mega celebrity actors, whatever. Like there are a lot of people connected to this who are not that wealthy. They are, so when people approach it negatively, thinking whatever, and it's also in unison, right? Unless I'm wrong, this strike is in unison with the WGA's strike. Like it is in support with that.
They're happening at the same time, right? So the writers are on strike currently, and the Screen Actors Guild is on strike currently. So
I thought it was like they also want you to meet the WGA's agreements, but maybe
I think so. I think there is a sense of camaraderie there. The DGA, the Directors Guild, did reach a contract extension or whatever it may be, renewal a couple months ago, which is something that I know the WGA was really hoping that the DGA was going to go on strike. But when that didn't happen, they were pretty confident that SAG was going to, and that's what ended up happening. There's a couple things that they can do. So they can work on independent films, true independent films. This is stuff that we saw. I think we mentioned it before, but back when the writers were on strike, whatever it was in the early 2000s or mid 2000s, we got Dr. Horrible Sing Along blog. They can work on independent films or promote independent films. They can also work on soaps, reality shows, morning shows, talk shows, variety shows, and game shows, as well as union work in commercials, music videos, corporate or educational videos, and news broadcasts, because those fall under different contracts than SAG does. And if you heard what I said previously about the promotion stuff, you would realize that the Emmys were announced on Wednesday, the day before this happened. Now actors can't promote or campaign for themselves. Not that, I mean, some do, some don't. There's also San Diego Comic-Con that starts in 4 days,
Oh yeah.
and no talent are going to be permitted to appear, which is going to fuck up all of
Yeah.
a lot of Comic-Con, right? There's also things that are coming up in the fall, like TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, Telluride, another film festival, where there may just be no talent. So obviously big things are being hit. Deadpool 3, a couple days before, like, showed Hugh Jackman in the Wolverine suit with Deadpool, and it was a huge thing. And then, they have to stop production. There's things that are, Venom 3, Gladiator 2, the Wicked movie, new Paddington film. These are all stopping down. Everything's stopping. All the big shit's stopping right now. So a lot of things are basically halted, which is really going to show a ripple effect.
100%.
One thing that I think is interesting, Chelsea, can you add the "I thought it was interesting" from the Carl Havoc skit? And I think you should leave.
I thought it was interesting.
SAG-AFTRA is in the United States. It's a U.S. contract. So shows like House of the Dragon, which are currently filming in the UK, can continue. And I think it's
even if they're attached to striked companies from here, or
yes.
I guess
So
I don't
it's
know.
not. So
Interesting. Okay.
I think if there is an American actor who's
Mhm.
in House of the Dragon, who's a part of the Screen Actors Guild, they wouldn't be able to do it. But
Okay.
Screen Actors Guild is an American union. So actors from the UK are a part of a union called Equity. And the Equity General Secretary, Paul Fleming, basically released a statement standing in solidarity with SAG, but basically said artists working in the United Kingdom, whether SAG-AFTRA or Equity members or both, what they can do may be different from their comrades in the US and other parts of the world. So there's a weird wiggle room there, right? Like there's been a lot of productions that I've heard people talking about that are like trying to go to the UK to film, or to, other continents to get around this.
Mhm.
But luckily, members of SAG, members of the WGA don't want to scab. They don't want to cross the picket lines. They want to make sure that they are standing in unison with their, with their I want to say comrades, but that's very like it's like very strong Russian and socialist undertones, but with their coworkers, essentially, to make sure that everyone gets the rights that they should.
As they should.
So that's what's going on. I mean, the last time this happened was 6 months in the year 2000, which was the longest strike in SAG history. I think that unfortunately, while writers should get the same contracts or similarly negotiated contracts as actors, I think that you're going to see a quicker and swifter response to this than you did to the WGA strike. But that said, I really hope that we see large shifts, because the streaming is just so different, and the residuals need to make sense so these actors can get paid and keep giving us the shit that we want to talk about on the podcast, to be honest.
Yeah. I think that there are enough people that are in both of those unions, writers that are also actors and things like that, that I would imagine that they're happening at the same time on purpose, in a way that, I don't know, I feel like the pressure of the actors part of it will help the writer side, long term.
100%. And I'm curious. I want to take a trip down to like 30 Rock, because I know they're protesting at 30 Rock, and just kind of see what the vibes are,
Let's do that. I'll do that this week.
Let's do it. All right.
Maybe I'll go tomorrow.
So like I said, we wanted to give you guys an update on the strike. Obviously, as there's anything going on, we're not experts per se, but we at least wanted to talk about it, because it affects the people that we talk to on the show, And while it
Mhm.
affects us, that's not what matters. It affects the people that we talk to and that we want to support.
Yeah.
And want to make sure everyone knows what's going on. So,
Yeah, obviously want to, because this is the industry that we care about, that we're talking to, filled with the people that we admire, and the friends that we're making as we're on this
Yeah.
fun podcast journey. And it's also worth bringing it up because it does. Obviously the important thing is not how it's affecting us in the situation, but we also have to let you guys know as listeners that this does affect like what our episodes are going to be like for a bit.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure that out. We have communications with a lot of these studios, and it's sometimes like we pull guests from a lot of different places, but sometimes we're actively pulling guests from things that are coming out right now, and we don't want to stand on the wrong side of this, even though we're not a part of those unions. Again, these are the people that we are talking to on a regular basis, the people that we respect. So we need to figure out who we can bring on, and then when we do bring on people, what we can talk about and how to go about that. But with that, we're also, we're a movie focused show, a movie and TV focused show, but we do talk to plenty of other people in the horror sphere. Horror extends beyond movies. And so for a while, we're also going to really be looking at other places that we can bring creatives from this genre from. So bear with us while we figure that out. And I see it as an opportunity to get a little weird personally, but
yeah,
yeah,
I agree. So hope you guys are ready for the shift. But that said, we are going to, if you're listening with ads, take a little break and then come back with some aliens. All right, Sean, there was some stuff that you wanted to tell me that I don't know about.
Buddy. Okay. So I'm going to tell you guys right now. It has been a wild, it's been a wild couple years in terms of the UFO, alien, crazy people community.
UAP.
But it has just been getting UAP community. Yeah. But it has just been getting weirder and weirder and weirder. Some articles from more and more credible sources are coming out, and we gotta go over some info that just recently came out, as well as some stuff that I just recently learned about. Steve's already laughing.
I'm excited.
Right, Steve, are you sitting down? If you aren't,
you know I am.
You better. All right. Well, then I suggest you stand up and sit back down again, just for good measure, because this is nuts.
Right.
To quote the excellent musical trio, Destiny's Child, I don't think you're ready for this jelly. In fact, 1 second. Let me make sure that we're good here. All right. Got my tinfoil hat on. We got some information for you guys. If I can get this boy to stick. All right. So you haven't heard anything yet?
No.
No? Okay. So
Sean literally has a tinfoil hat on. Listen, people are gonna listen to this, and only some people will watch this, and they just need to know.
Well, I'll make a clip.
Yeah, no, that's
fine. Guys, in a New York Times article that was came out on July 13th, 2023, written by, where's his name? Julian E. Barnes. He goes on to tell us about New York's Senator Chuck Schumer.
Chuck.
Yep, Chuck, coming forward and aggressively pushing legislation to create a commission with broad authority to declassify fucking everything. Like everything. And it is coming in the form of a bill, which I will talk about more specifically soon.
Okay.
Just like a day or two ago, that bill was actually written up. It is 64 pages long. I have not read all of it yet, but I've read a lot of it.
I was going to say, you probably read some of it, right?
I've read a good amount of it. I also want to take this moment to give credit to TikTok creator Elroy Spacely, who helped me just pick out some of the key points of this bill to explore further on my own. If you guys want to check out any of his videos, he talks a bit about it as well. But basically, this bill has bipartisan support. It has support from Democrats and Republicans. Some people that we don't really like are also incredibly supporting this bill. And I will go over it more specifically in a bit, but basically, this bill would give. But if this thing passes, Biden would have about 3 months. I think it's like 3 to 6 months. I don't know the exact number there, to put together a committee of 9 people to like handpick each individual. That would then go over my tinfoil hat's coming off. So that would then basically put together a council for people to be subpoenaed to come and give evidence and stuff like that. So it gets really crazy. This is a quote from Chuck Schumer. For decades, many Americans have been fascinated by objects mysterious and unexplained, and it's long past time they get some answers. The American public has a right to learn about technologies of unknown origins, non-human intelligence, and unexplainable phenomena. We are not only working to declassify what the government has previously learned about these phenomena, but to create a pipeline for future research to be made public. I also, before I
What
explore that,
publication is this again? Was this New York Times? So
this is the New York Times. Yeah, New York
All right.
Times.
All right.
The Hill has articles about it. It's all over, and that is a direct quote from him. I think you can see videos of him saying that specifically.
Yeah,
I've
really quick.
also, again,
shout out, like, you know how old people will get old and they'll just continue to be dicks, and they're like, I'm old, I don't give a fuck, like, I'm gonna be an asshole. Shout out to old people that are like, I'm dying and I'm taking everyone out with me. Like, Chuck Schumer's not dying. That's what I'm
saying.
Yeah, I mean, like, but he's like, nah, dude, I've been around for too long. The shit has to come out now.
100%. Well, also, so I will explore this further too. Sorry, that there's a lot I got to give you guys, so I apologize for, and the way that it all ties together, I'm going to do my best. But to what you're just saying, it's not just Chuck Schumer. I mean, we're talking about the most senior members of our government and sister associations of our government, people with the absolute highest clearance and access to all of our deepest secrets. You cannot get more like verified than the types of people that have been coming forward for a long time, but more like, it used to be when 1 or 2 came forward, they were nuts, and now so many from so many different governments are coming forward because they're old. They're at the end of their lives. They understood why things needed to be a secret for a certain amount of time, and now they're like, enough's enough. This is happening, people. It is. We are past the point of conspiracy theory. This is what's happening. Before I go more into detail about the bill and stuff, I want to remind everybody, we talked about it a few episodes ago, about Air Force veteran David Grush, who was the whistleblower that everybody's talking about right now. He was a former member of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and he had a big debriefing's not the word, just a big whistleblow incident where he talked about all sorts of stuff, talked about a quote from him is, well, naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true. Basically talking about these legacy programs that we've had and saying that we have craft, we have biological evidence, bodies of extraterrestrial beings. And when we initially talked about it, I wasn't so sure what to think because from my understanding at the time, he wasn't even talking about his own personal accounts of seeing these things. It came off at the time like, well, I've worked in the Air Force and the government and the military for a long time, and I've heard a lot of these stories. And while that's still impressive, I was like, okay, it's just another person saying, I'm this person with this credibility and I give it the thumbs up. That is a misunderstanding of who he is. He was positioned basically as one of our, like, the highest up intelligent investigators. Basically our intelligence committees appointed him to investigate these issues specifically. So he went on an investigation talking to all of these credible people that I'm talking about.
Got you.
And all of these different places, and came back with not only stories, but evidence that he has not given up yet. So a lot of people that are saying that this is bullshit, or like, well, where's the evidence? When you think about it, he's put in a position where right now he cannot actually give everything up without going to jail or facing some consequences. So he's waiting for something like this bill that I'm talking about to be able to do that. And I'll explain why that's the case in a minute. Sorry. Again, I'm giving you so much.
No,
but
it's all good.
Yeah, another thing about David Grush is that he has given some evidence, presented it, under oath, like literally testifying. So in the case that he's lying or making something up, if people think like, oh, he's just prepping to go on whatever his book tour, in a couple of years, if he's lying, he would go to prison for a significant amount of time. Like, why would someone in his position? Well, yeah, or that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, legally they could put him in prison. He's purging himself. But yeah, so let me catch up. Oh, and I also want to point out that no slander whatsoever has been thrown his way. Like, nothing to discredit him by the Senate, the Pentagon, the Department of Defense, CIA. There's been no slander campaign because there's nothing to get him with. He is simply a credible source. And
they've been too busy burning documents to slander him online.
That's so. Yeah, I was about to say getting rid of everything that they can, but so this dude is like bulletproof though. He's simply a credible source, and his statements are a big part of why this is happening. But blah 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 blah. So let's talk about the amendment a little bit more. The amendment is called the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Disclosure Act of 2023, or the UAP Disclosure Act of 2023. This amendment is modeled on the President John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act of 1992, which required the public disclosure of documents related to former President Kennedy's assassination 25 years after its enactment. And this is me going into, I don't really believe this is conjecture, but I'm going to acknowledge it as conjecture in comparison to the other things I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm on the Kennedy was assassinated because he was actively looking for this information. And you can at least say publicly, it is confirmed that Kennedy was very interested in what we knew about UFOs and extraterrestrial life at the time. He talked about it in his campaigns. And once he was actually elected, it kind of got less and less, we believe, because of pressures at the time. But I think he was still pushing for these things. And I do lean towards it's at least a realistic option that he was assassinated because of that at the time. I truly do believe that, but I'm acknowledging that is a bit more far-fetched than the other things, and I want to separate it from the other things I want to talk about. So the Schumer Rounds Amendment would give the federal government eminent domain over any recovered technologies of unknown origin or biological evidence of non-human intelligence now held by private individuals or organizations. And this is direct. This isn't just like, oh, Schumer has gone crazy. Again, multiple people, senators, Democrats, Republicans are supporting this directly from the Senate Democrats website. They say, quote, while these stories have varying levels of credibility, the sheer number and variety has led some in Congress to believe that the executive branch was concealing important information regarding UAP over broad periods of time. So they're basically saying, we've had all these press conferences with NASA and all these people, and they gave us some stuff that we feel they had to give us, but we still think that they're not telling us everything, and now we're going to fucking demand that they do.
Interesting.
That is literally what's happening. The bill dropped. And they're not fucking around. They, at the beginning of a bill, they usually give you a definitions segment to basically say, like, this is a term that you are going to see throughout this bill, and this is the definition in this context. This is exactly what we're referring to, so there's no wiggle room on you didn't understand. And some of these words that I want to lay out are things like close observer. This is on a government bill. This is in black and white ink. Close observer means anyone who has come into close proximity to unidentified anonymous phenomena or non-human intelligence, which is nuts that's on a bill. Like, that is historically
Unprecedented.
Another term. What'd you say?
I said unprecedented. It probably hasn't
Yeah,
happened
unprecedented.
before.
Yes. Yeah. Another term is legacy program. The term legacy program means all federal, state, and local government, commercial industry, academic, and private sector endeavors to collect, exploit, or reverse engineer technologies of unknown origin or examine biological evidence of living or deceased non-human intelligence that predates the date of the enactment of this bill. And a big part of the conspiracy world has been that there are these legacy programs that have existed since the 40s and 50s, which all of these people that know that are apparently sources, for the high up people that I'm talking about that are coming forward and giving information both publicly and the ones that haven't come forward yet publicly are saying that we have had at least these legacy programs in place since the 40s and 50s. Which is what all the quote unquote kooks have said for forever. But other terms that they're talking about, let me get to the right page, are things like prosaic attribution. And I want to point to that one to again further highlight that they're not asking for obscurities, and they are specifically talking about aliens or interdimensional beings. Prosaic attribution means having a human, either foreign or domestic origin, and operating according to current, proven, and generally understood scientific and engineering principles and established laws of nature, and not attributed to non-human intelligence. So that's in there so they can say, like, this is not what we're looking for further in the bill when they're specifically asking for things. And during testimonies, they're saying, I'm not asking you about the thing that turned into weather balloon, blah, 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 for sure.
Right.
And another term that they have is technologies of unknown origin.
Right.
The term technologies of unknown origin means any materials or metamaterials, ejecta, crash debris, mechanisms, machinery, equipment, assemblies or subassemblies, engineering models or processes, damaged or intact aerospace vehicles, and damaged or intact ocean, surface, or undersea craft associated with unidentified anomalous phenomena or incorporating science and technology that lacks prosaic attribution, which I just talked about, which lacks prosaic attribution or known means of human manufacture. They in the fucking oceans, bro. What have I been saying? You want to borrow my tinfoil hat? Put everyone listening, put yours on.
When is this bill being like voted on or whatever happens? And
I don't know the exact. I know that it's being pushed. I wasn't able to find that specifically right now, but yeah, it's definitely being pushed, and I'll come back to my only hesitations on it a bit later, because I do still have more. I'm sorry, there's a lot.
No,
but
there's so much happening.
Yeah, I was about to say that it's just one of those things. I mean, my mind was just being blown. It's been blown for years now, but the research that I've done today is just fucking. So another term that I want to point to, and this will be the last term, is unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAP, in the context of this bill. So I want to stress, because a lot of people are lean to the vagueness. They're like, okay, so the Pentagon came out about UAP videos, but now everyone's jumping to the alien thing when there's no reason to do that.
Yeah.
This is what the bill is saying. In general, the term unidentified anomalous phenomena means any object operating or judged capable of operating in outer space, the atmosphere, ocean surfaces, or undersea, lacking prosaic attribution due to performance characteristics and properties not previously known to be achievable based on commonly acceptable physical principles. Unidentified anomalous phenomena are differentiated from both attributed and temporarily non-attributed objects by one or more of the following observables: instantaneous acceleration absent apparent inertia. So basically, they can go crazy fucking fast out of nowhere in ways that we know, quote unquote, know with our understanding of physics to be impossible.
Yeah, like jumping,
Hypersonic
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Hypersonic velocity absent to thermal signature and sonic shockwave. Transmedium, such as space to ground and air to undersea travel. So basically, when people see a UFO rise up out of the ocean and shoot off into the sky, we don't have anything that can fucking do that. Positive lift contrary to aerodynamic principles. So basically, like anti-gravity
Just
technology.
going straight up. Yeah.
Yep. And multispectral signature control. And also physical or invasive biological effects to close observers and environments. So basically things that are like fucking with people. And yeah. But okay. So there's that bill, and they're literally saying, again, to quickly summarize, they are saying, if this bill passes, Biden has to do this, and then we can subpoena fucking anybody, like whether you work in any department of the U.S. government now or have previously, or whether you work as a private, something that we're funding into that technically isn't ours, or something that we're not funding into. If we have reason to think that you have information or any physical evidence of any kind, we will make you come and present it under oath. And if you fucking lie, you're going to prison. That alone is absolutely bananas.
Yeah.
Bananas, dude. So I guess before I continue a little bit more into some other stuff, what are your thoughts just now?
It's crazy. I don't really have a lot of thoughts besides the fact that it's like I accepted it. I feel like I've accepted it. I really want to know, like, I feel like whenever we find out what the aliens are, it's going to be so different than what we think. Like, we won't be able to like grasp what it is. It's going to be something where like it's going to be like a jellyfish, and it's going to be like, oh, the jellyfish that have been in the oceans? No, those are aliens. Those have just been aliens the whole time, and they live somewhere else, and they've just been chilling in our water, but they can also fly spaceships, and you just didn't know that. And they live somewhere else. It's just going to be it's going to be like cats, it's good, like Niffler. It's going to be fucking something so different than what we expect that I don't think we'll be able to grasp it.
Sure. I agree with that to a certain extent. I want to elaborate on a few things here. We are again entering slightly, but only slightly, and I'm going to explain why, into conjecture world or conspiracy world, just because these aren't, at the moment, until things are presented as evidence or fully disclosed or whatever.
Yeah, we don't know.
You have to acknowledge that, like, we're still on. But again, we're at a point where we are this far. Our government is taking this seriously because of the things that these sources are saying. And these same sources have been saying a lot of very detailed things about this. These same sources. So, it's basically, a lot of these sources are saying things like, these programs have existed since the 40s or 50s, but these beings have been here for at least thousands of years, and are interwoven with our existence. They're a bigger part of our narrative than we know. Where they're potentially not just visitors. But also that, other things that have come forward a lot is that it's not just like a species that, like, there's this other life form. It's that there are many other life forms that know about each other, and they have a, I hate to say, like this term sounds silly because of the context that you've heard it in, but things like galactic, like governments, basically galactic, like species that interact with each other, that have rules, that have different agendas and thoughts and whatever, regarding themselves and then regarding us. We are basically a territory that is being protected by certain things and maybe not by others. And that sounds, I was about to say, it sounds so, it's like fucking, but that's where we're at, man. And And so there's that aspect of it. So all right, so again, still in conjecture-y world a bit, but I want to talk a little bit about Ross Coulthart, who
Okay.
is the author of a very famous disclosure book titled In Plain Sight. But before that, I mean, he's been a journalist for years. He's a very credible journalist in every other aspect. This is the weird thing, that he talks about, but he's, covered war aspects and has worked with all sorts of people. He's also connected to all of these, like he's one of the go-to people in terms of like he is the one having these conversations with people that aren't coming forward.
Gotcha.
And he is the person who interviewed David Grush,
Okay.
who we were just talking about previously, so the whistleblower. And a thing that I just learned from Ross, or a claim that he's making. Well, actually, okay, so he has a source in the Senate who has told him, this is to further confirm like just how serious the government is taking it. So Coulthart says that he has a source in the Senate who has told him that the Senate Armed Services Committee is sponsoring exactly the same language that we just heard in this bill. So basically saying that they're on the same page. It's not just the House committees, and that three of the three like most powerful committees that we have are now publicly concerned about industry involvement in crash retrieval, which never in fucking history has happened. Those committees are the CCS or the SSCI, which is the Senate Select Committee for Intelligence, the Senate Armed Services Committee, and the House Armed Services Committee. All have people that are showing, concern pretty
So, like,
publicly, and the
like they're worried that like someone is gonna find something like
yes,
that, like a
Yes.
person like Elon Musk is gonna happen upon an invisibility cloak and like change the fucking game. Like you're like something
Yes,
as an
so-
example, right?
literally they are literally saying, we look at our industrialized warfare already and how dangerous that is. They're saying at this point, this situation is so real that we have no choice but to engage with it more aggressively and in ways that we can't keep it secret, which is why this disclosure needs to happen. So we need to legally set precedents where private individuals don't get to just do what they want with things that they find like this. Like we have to take claim over it
They
in
got
a much more
guns.
aggressive way. Yeah, dude. And I was about to say, and you take this with, I mean, there's a clear, whether you believe it or not yet, which I don't understand how you don't, but whether you believe it or not yet, you can't deny that the claims of sightings, both official government, everything from Marines to pilots, whatever, to just your everyday people out on the streets, have skyrocketed. And a big part of that is, the internet and being able to share
Social
it,
media,
but also they are here more often. The UAPs are showing up more frequently. But so that's one aspect of it. But so another thing that Chuck said that I found very interesting is on an episode.
Chuck or Ross?
Ross is who I'm talking about. Another interesting thing that I just learned about is like a week ago, he was on a podcast called Project Unity. If anyone wants to check that out. And when talking about how they were talking about the bill that was coming forward, and when talking about how long the holders of any of this sort of information or evidence, information or evidence, private or otherwise, whatever, how long they had before they had to come forward, the podcast host asked Ross, doesn't this just give them like 6 months to hide all their shit? Which, Steve, you were saying, destroying documents and everything like that.
Yep.
And Ross froze for a second and was just like, okay. And you could tell he was deciding on whether or not to share information. And he said, quote, what if some of that shit is so big that it can't be moved? So big that they built a building over it in a country outside of the United States of America. And the host was like, is that what you're saying? And he's like, that is exactly what I'm saying. And when asked, like, so you're saying that a credible source told you this? And he said, countless credible sources have openly discussed this with me. But that's as far as he was like willing to go talking about it. That video, a clip from that podcast, has been circulating the internet and people have been looking. And there is another disclosure face named Stephen Greer, who I believe that we've talked about a little bit before. We talked with a friend of the pod about him as well. Stephen Greer has also stated that there is a ship. And he gets more specific. He says, which is just what the internet was thinking. He recently said this, that there is a ship that he calls it an extraterrestrial vehicle that they had downed with some type of electronic warfare system and had to, quote, carve out a huge part of the mountain just to contain, as it couldn't be moved to any other site. And it is apparently located outside of Seoul. I think that's how you say it. South Korea. Yep. And I have, Steve, I have oh no, I'll have to send it to you after. I had it pulled up on like Google Maps where you can look at it. It is a giant, when I say big, it is a fucking massive building that is a perfect circle in the middle of fucking nowhere. And it's got like a couple small buildings around it. And when you look up what that building is, it just says like something along the lines of like military building, no specifics, nothing.
I'm trying to look it up now.
Sure. If you can get the exact coordinates, I will show you when we're done. And maybe I'll put it in one of the clips that I do here. But yeah, dude. And so that's the type of thing where if this like hypothetically this bill passes through and we have to give files that confirm that is real and show pictures of it, if you think that we're not going to just go over that, I mean, we have a good relationship with South Korea. We'll go over there and just get that disclosed for sure. You know what I mean? Like you can't get rid of it is what I'm saying. It's not like they can hide it.
Why would South Korea show this? Like, this isn't anything that like they've agreed to, you know?
No, but it's so while these conversations are happening in the US, you can bet your fucking ass that they're happening in worldwide government like meetings and conversations. Like it is something that is happening everywhere. The sightings are not just popping up a ton in the US, they're popping up everywhere. So every government is figuring out how to address this and what they're going to do right now. And I mean, when disclosure happens, it's not the US isn't going to come forward and say, if the US comes forward and says, here is everything, like aliens are real, here's everything that we have to fucking prove it.
Yeah.
Other governments are going to follow suit. There's not going to be another government that's going to go, oh, the US is lying. Like,
you don't think so?
You know what I
like
mean?
Protect
like,
interests or anything?
No. Well, especially with what we would release, because also the US government isn't just going to say, we know that this is happening, but we can't show you. Like it's going to be presented in a way that is undeniable, and it's going to be a worldwide event. There will still be individual deniers, but
do you think that like we know about the South Korea stuff? Like you think that
we don't,
the US
so we know, so these officials have said that there is absolutely information sharing between countries, even countries that are in every other way adversaries. Like there are certain things that we acknowledge are literally planetary problems and concerns. So there's information that we share because no matter how terrible a government is, none of them are that stupid. But not everything shares everything. You know, it's again just the fact that we are openly admitting that not only are these things here, but that we try to reverse engineer technologies that we find.
Yeah.
That alone is a weapons thing. Like that's even these, like people like Schumer, Stephen Greer, Ross Coulthart are people that are like, we totally understand why some of these things need to remain classified in terms of the specifics. Like we there is simply like aspects of national security where we don't want Russia to have some of the technologies that we for sure have, things like
to
that.
like access that.
Yeah, you know that.
I really want. I'm looking at pictures now of this thing.
Mhm.
I really want to find like. I want to find it on my map, if that makes sense. Like
I did earlier. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to
Okay.
just send you a picture.
Gotcha.
I can pull it up on
Because I
Apple's
have
maps.
I was gonna say I have the coordinates. It's not. It won't like go
Yeah.
right into Apple Maps, but I'm gonna try it more.
Okay, yeah, I will literally send you the stuff.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not a Photoshop thing. Like, this
Yeah.
is on maps. You can find it on Google Maps, Apple Maps. Like, it is there. The building is there. Whether or not there's a giant flying saucer in it is up for
Yeah.
debate. But the building
Right.
exists, and it is massive and in the middle of fucking nowhere, and it is a perfect circle.
Right.
But so even another thing that just shows like credibility to stuff like this is even like people like fucking Mark Rubio has said there are very quote there are very serious people in the government, senior officials with the highest levels of clearance, saying some astonishing things, and that it's not just our government. So he's jumping on this campaign, and yeah, and so shit is just nuts, man.
That's a
Things
lot.
are crazy. Yep, it is a lot, and it's just going to keep getting more and more. You know, it's and also you can't really put this back in the box. Like it just doesn't make. I think it's going to happen, man. I really think that, you know, depending on how this bill goes, we could either, if it starts going forward, they might just come forward and say, look, yes, these things are real, and over the next few months you are going to find out specifics, or, you know, that'll start happening, and then like as things come out, they will eventually say it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to figure out if they're going to say it right off the bat and then go into details,
Right.
or take us on the narrative evidence journey. The only reason, this is what I was going to bring up earlier, the only thing that has me like still worried is that, again, when you think about it, like these are senators, these are members of Congress that are coming forward about this stuff. The people that are hiding this isn't Congress and the president, at least like not at its core. The people that are going to hide this stuff are like defense, the defense department.
Yeah.
Like I don't know the exact, you know, but basically are the armed industrial industry are the people that are going to want to keep this secret, and those people are also the biggest lobbyist for in all of our politicians.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a weird pressures game of how that goes, because at the end of the day, we are greedy fucks and it's all about money. So, but the other aspect is what pressures these beings are putting on us, whether it be directly telling us, you know, if we're in actual communications with them telling us like we're going to make you tell them, or just them being more active where it becomes just less and less deniable. So our government's backed in the world governments are backed into a corner right now. And yeah, yep.
I don't even know what to think. I just like at this point I just gotta like let it happen. Like it's just I need to like stop. I need to like not even think about it. I just need to let it happen.
I can't.
And I know.
I'm
yeah.
fucking.
I just gotta just let it happen. Send me pictures when they say things. Let me know when the bill passes. But for the time being, I have to just let the aliens roll until they show up.
I feel it. Yeah. Well, so I guess that's honestly a good segue. Steve's got a lot of other stuff on his mind. Sorry, guys. That's all of our alien update for now. Yeah, we will obviously. Yeah, we will still keep. You know, it's something that I'm going to keep updating us on.
Yeah.
I put it in the world of mostly horror. It's true horror though, potentially. Yeah. So, but yeah, Steve's got a lot on his mind. Steve, tell everybody what all you got going on right now.
Yeah, so we've been recording this podcast for 2+ years, 2.5 years, and part of that time we did it across the country. And then part of it for the last year and a half, we've been doing it in the same apartment. But we are going to be doing it in different apartments very soon. Sydney and I are moving to Brooklyn. We just got a space recently, and I don't know if you can hear duct tape or mask or packing tape in the background, but currently boxing.
I hear a
stuff
little
up.
bit.
Yeah, getting ready to move in just a couple weeks. So really excited. The space is really cool. Gonna have like an office. I currently record from our bedroom. So gonna have an office set up. May upgrade the gear, but get we call it whenever I'm on Zoom and they see my mic set up for work, they call it the lab. So I'm gonna get the lab set up in a good way for the pod, and I'm gonna upgrade internet is gonna be a big thing. Very excited to have upgraded internet. But yeah, I'm stoked.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm stoked
excited
for you guys. It's awesome. It's obviously a bummer that we're not going to be living in the same apartment anymore, but obviously still in the same city. I still don't know what's happening with me yet. To let everybody know, I will most likely be moving out of this apartment and figuring something else out. So that's all up in the air. But changes are happening over at the pod is basically what's going on, and so things are going to get a little hectic. So
I was going to say, if there's any weirdness in the episodes, it's because people are moving in the next couple of months. But there will
people
be
are
episodes.
moving.
There'll be episodes every week. They will have guests. Hopefully, most of the time, whether it's us playing games or us, talking to people that are interesting. We will obviously still have our episodes, but it may be a couple of months before we are back in regular working order. But honestly, maybe that'll coincide with the strike, and it'll all be good timing. Maybe.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an opportunity to play around, get a little creative, try some other things, and we hope that you guys enjoy it and hang with us through it. Between aliens, moves, and strikes, we're out here just rolling dices, guys. It's getting crazy.
Exactly.
It's jazz. What have I been saying, man?
It's always jazz on the show. To wrap things up, do you have any recs this week? I have a good rec that I want to rec to the recs today.
Yeah, so here I'll go and then you do yours. Mine is fairly vague. With aliens on the brain, my rec is something that I'm going to be doing over this next couple of days, and that's watching all of the alien horror movies that I just have not seen yet. Some iconic ones. A person on TikTok whose name I don't have right now, and I apologize to that person, commented on one of my videos recently and said that one of the scariest things that they saw when they were a kid, movie wise, was a scene from a film called Fire in the Sky. And I have never seen that movie, and I normally don't do stuff like this, but with how old it was and with their direct reference and me not having a previous reason to care, I looked up the scene that they were talking about, and I don't think it's going to take from the movie for me at all, but I do wish I hadn't seen it. It is a terrifying scene of an alien abduction. So yeah, my recs are going to be, go look for some alien movies you haven't seen and rewatch the classics. I'm going to watch Fire in the Sky, Men in Black,
absolutely,
fucking just all the Close Encounters of the Third Kind, all the it's aliens on the brain. But what about you?
I have a good alien film that I think is underrated, and it's a one that came out within the past decade or two. But it's one I enjoy a lot. I do enjoy alien films, but the film Dark Skies, I really like.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't get the love that it deserves. It's like a quick and dirty, not thinking too hard horror film. And I'm trying to pull up IMDb as we're talking, and I'm 99% sure it's Patrick Wilson from Insidious. Nope, that's a lie. Kerry Russell, Jake Brennan, Josh Hamilton is the dad, but Kerry Russell is the lead. Got some J.K. Simmons action in there, but it's just a fun alien movie that I thought was really really scary. Another one that I think is really scary, not Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but The Third Kind. That one,
The Fourth Kind.
The Fourth Kind, bro.
Yeah.
The levitation, the bed scene.
Yep.
Fuck that, dude.
That I watched that again. I used to be even less skeptical, and when that movie came out, I initially, when I first saw it, I thought it was, I at least entertained the idea that it was an actual documentary.
Yeah.
And was scared shitless. I remember
Yeah.
watching that with an ex when I was in high school, and it scared the poop out of me.
Yeah, dude.
So
Made you
yeah.
run for the hills.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. The thing I really wanted to recommend.
That's an inside joke.
The thing I really wanted to recommend this week is this show from, I think it's from 2018, called Sharp Objects, starring Amy Adams. It's on Max. It is based off of a Gillian Flynn novel. Gillian Flynn's the writer of Gone Girl. That was also adapted into a David Fincher film, but it is very good. It is about murders that happen in a small town. It's a nice 8-episode, 8-hour watch, and has one of, in the same way that the woman from The Mist is one of my least favorite like villains in a film.
Yeah.
The Jesus lady from The Mist. There's another woman in Sharp Objects that is like one of my least favorite people in anything I've ever seen.
Okay.
And it's
right up there with Umbridge and Princess Azula.
They're literally
Got it.
Azula's dope though. I like Azula more than I like Umbridge.
She's cool, but dude,
yeah, she's a bitch.
oh, she stressed me out.
Yeah, she's not great. So yeah, definitely check out Sharp Objects if you can. On Max. I'm not promoting Max, but I'm telling you to watch Sharp Objects on Max, and hopefully the actors get the residuals that they deserve from that. Watch The Fourth Kind, watch Sharp Objects. Send us an email at mostlyhorrormovienight@gmail.com. Tell us how you feel about this alien shit. We really want to know. That's at the end of the day, we got to know your thoughts. You can also tell us about alien films if you like alien TV or movies. Shoot us an email. You can also send us a DM on Instagram and tell us about it. Mostly Horror Pod is our @ over on Instagram. You can also tweet to us or respond to a TikTok. Leave a comment on a TikTok. Both of those are @ Mostly Horror. Our episodes are now on YouTube as of about 10 episodes ago. So if you want to watch us talking to guests and chatting about aliens, you can do that all on YouTube. And that is, I'm everywhere at Steven is Average. Sean's on all the socials at Hypocrite Inc. or hypocrite.inc. And that's all we got for you this week until aliens probably next week as well.
Goodbye.